Hello everyone, welcome to episode 16 of Flashback Royal Rumble. This time around we'll be going over the 2006 and the 2007 Royal Rumble events. First we'll start off with the 2006 Royal Rumble. I gotta say, this was definitely one of the most disappointing events I've ever seen, as most of the matches were not that good. Let's begin at the beginning. The show kicked off with a cruiserweight title opening with about six cruiserweights. One of those cruiserweights being the champion, Kid Cash, and Gregory Helms, and Funaki, Spike Dudley, Chavo Guerrero, I think Nunzio also. I think that was the order. I'm not sure. Not quite sure. But anyway, yeah, the cruiserweight matches are always good. WCW, WWE, what have you. It was fast paced. It was good. It was a good match. It was definitely a great way to open up the show. Then we move on to Mickie James taking on Ashley, with Trish Stratus being the referee. You can obviously tell Ashley hadn't honed her skills as a worker, and because it seems like Mickie was dictating the pace, and some of the spots didn't look good at all, and for like 7.5 minutes. It was a little too long for me. So, again, it was pretty forgettable. And then we move on to the Boogeyman taking on JBL. Okay, this honestly, I think this was wrestle crap bad. That's how bad this match was. It was like 2 minutes and it didn't really go anywhere. And what a year it made for JBL. I mean, the previous year he was main eventing pay-per-views as the WWE champion, and now he's stuck in the way low mid cards with the Boogeyman. Poor JBL. And then we move on to the Royal Rumble match. Now, usually the Royal Rumble match is the main event, but this time it wasn't. Oh, I'm sorry. Gregory Helms goes on to win the Cruiserweight title. Mickie James defeated Ashley, and Boogeyman won his match. Now we move on to the Rey Mysterio-esque Royal Rumble match. Now, as I was saying, the Royal Rumble match was usually the main event, but in this case it wasn't. Now, I don't know if it was because WWE didn't feel like Rey Mysterio was a big enough name to cap off their show. To me, it would have been a little bit better, seeing how the other matches would turn out. But that's just me. Anyway, it starts off with Triple H and Rey Mysterio being the first two combatants. Now, when Triple H was announced as the first one, I'm sure a lot of people were thinking that Triple H was going to go the distance and go on to become the next #1 contender, giving his feuds with the Big Show and Ric Flair at the time. But of course that didn't happen. What happened was Rey Mysterio would actually go the distance and actually have the longest appearance ever in a Royal Rumble event. That's over 62 minutes, and go on to win the Royal Rumble in memory of his friend Eddie Guerrero. And this was when the Eddie Guerrero death would be incorporated into the storyline and all that mess. Then we have John Cena taking on Edge for the WWE Championship. Now, a couple weeks before, at the New Year's Revolution pay-per-view back in early January, Edge had cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase after John Cena had a brutal Elimination Chamber match and went on to become the new champion. When Edge won the WWE Championship, it caused a major stir. The wrestling world was buzzing, and everyone was talking about Edge being the new champion, being the new face. And then 3 weeks later, he gets dethroned by John Cena. Okay, this is where the Super Cena comes to fruition, I believe. I mean, you had a red-hot heel champion on your hands, and all of a sudden you diminish his credibility by having your superhero beating him in just a matter of 3 weeks, making Edge a transitional champion, which should not have happened and didn't make sense to me. But it happened, and I'm not crazy about it, but it is what it is. And then the main event of the 2006 Royal Rumble was Kurt Angle defending his World Heavyweight title against Mark Henry. Now, of course, Mark Henry being Mark Henry at the time, this wasn't very good. I mean, this was not the way to end a pay-per-view. Honestly, it looked more like a SmackDown main event, if anything. But honestly, I'm sure the match itself was forgettable. Honestly, the only memorable part of that match was the appearance of the Undertaker. After Kurt Angle defeated Henry, Undertaker appeared and signified that he wants the World Heavyweight title, and that would create the Kurt Angle Undertaker match at No Way Out, which I'm sure everybody remembers that one. But overall, the 2006 was a rather disappointing pay-per-view, and I do not recommend seeing this at all. Unless you want to see Rey Mysterio win the Royal Rumble match, then go right ahead. Now we move on to the 2007 Royal Rumble event. Overall, this was a pretty good show. Again, nothing spectacular happened. Maybe a couple of things here or there, but again, it's another one of those shows that I wouldn't go out of my way to see. Except one match, but we'll get to that later. The show kicked off with Eminem taking on the Hardys. This was a great way to kick off the show. I really enjoyed these guys' matches together, especially Johnny Nitro and Jeff Hardy. Of course, those guys would have great matches in their singles careers, but that's for a later story, for a later time. Then we had Bobby Lashley defending the ECW Championship against Test. I didn't get the countout finish. The Hardys would go on to win the match. I didn't really get the countout finish in this one. To me, it just seemed lazy, and it didn't really make sense. Why not have a clean win on a pay-per-view? I mean, that doesn't sound too hard to understand. But well, the ending was pretty stupid, and I'll move on. Then there was Batista defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Mr. Kennedy. This was an okay match. It was pretty good. Wasn't too crazy about it. I was pretty sure. To me, the ending was kind of anticlimactic because I'm pretty sure not everyone was willing to believe that Mr. Kennedy was going to be the World Heavyweight Champion. So, to me, the ending was anticlimactic, and we'll move on. Then there was the Last Man Standing match for the WWE Championship between John Cena and Umaga. Again, just like the World Heavyweight title match from earlier, the ending was pretty anticlimactic. I mean, John Cena was going to take some pretty nasty blows, but Cena being Super Cena would overcome the odds and defeat the Samoan Monster. And then we move on to the main event, which was the 2007 Royal Rumble matchup. Honestly, the first half, maybe a little more than the first half, it was pretty boring. It was pretty boring for me, but as it wore on, it kind of picked up and it grew my interest, especially the ending. Shawn Michaels and Undertaker being the last two standing, and that extended finish was something incredible. Something I don't think I'd ever seen in a previous Royal Rumble match. I mean, these guys were taking it to each other for I don't know how many minutes, and then finally, after years of bad luck, the Undertaker broke his Royal Rumble curse and wins the 2007 Royal Rumble match and goes on to his signature event, WrestleMania. That was something to behold, in my opinion, and it was a great moment for me. Being an Undertaker and Shawn Michaels mark, I mean, I really loved it. Overall, the 2007 Royal Rumble matchup was pretty good. Nothing spectacular. The only thing I would recommend seeing is pretty much the ending of the 2007 Royal Rumble match. If you want to see the whole thing, more power to you. But to me, the most memorable part was the last few minutes of it, that being Shawn Michaels and Undertaker's extended finish. Well, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you for watching. You can leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on Twitter at JJMWW89. And until we meet again, take care, y'all.